So I'm going to talk you through the stages of a hurricane or a tropical cyclone being formed more generically, and I'm going to focus actually on the hurricanes that form in the North Atlantic Ocean basin. So actually they start off when meteorologists are watching for hurricane formation. They are going to actually focus here on the west coast of Africa. And we talked about Africa is in the influence of the Hadley cell. And we talked about in the Hadley cell we have what? These easterly trade winds. So actually, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but these are kind of a cluster of little thunderstorms that are kind of starting off of the west coast of Africa, and that's actually those thunderstorms. One of those little thunderstorms can intensify and turn into a hurricane for us. So these easterly waves then carry a set of thunderstorms called tropical disturbances. So tropical disturbances are the kernel of a weather event that may turn into a hurricane for us. Notice that tropical disturbances have wind speeds of less than 39 miles per hour. Now, as they find their way across the Atlantic Ocean, they can intensify depending upon the moisture content, the heat content, and the instability of the atmosphere as they go across the Atlantic. And so they can intensify from a tropical disturbance to a tropical depression. And this slide says only 1 out of 10 disturbances intensify into a depression. So they can go ahead and intensify from a tropical depression to a tropical storm, where a tropical storm has wind speeds between 39 and 74 miles per hour. Now, a tropical storm, finally, then, is when the system first gets its name, and I think that's significant. And I have a slide. The next slide actually talks about naming tropical storms. So now it's quite possible for a weather system to be downgraded, to go up from a tropical depression to a tropical storm and then be downgraded again. You might be saying, well, does it get to keep its name? And the answer is yes. And then finally, if the weather system intensifies, as noted by a number of things, but most specifically, how fast are the winds going? Now, the winds are fastest, remember, in the eye wall. But if it's at least 75 miles per hour, the wind speed, then it is now categorized not as a tropical storm, but as a tropical cyclone. And make sure we're all on the same page. Tropical cyclone, that is our hurricane. Okay, so that's kind of how that all goes. So how do we name these things? Well, each ocean gyre, each ocean basin has its own set of names. So if we focus on this is the Eastern Atlantic and the Western Pacific. Oh, wait a minute. No, this isn't those names. Actually, the ones that are associated with North America in our West Coast and our East Coast, we don't get very many on our West Coast, but we get some in the Gulf. Those get named according to male-female names alphabetically. So this list I pulled up is actually for the Atlantic, Gulf of Mexico, and Caribbean Sea. So one of the things I like to tell students is look to see if you can find your name. Okay, my name's not on there, but maybe yours is. So you'll notice as you're looking through these names that it's hard to find names in our language anyway that begin with Q, U, X, Y, and Z, so you won't find them here. Now, names used to all be female names, and I don't know what year it was, but thank goodness they did the right thing, and now they alternate female, male, female, male. And if there are more than 21 names, if there are more than 21 named tropical storms for a given year, you run out of names. And so then what they do is they go to the Greek alphabet. And actually in 2005, I want to say, with Hurricane Katrina, we did have to do that. So speaking of Hurricane Katrina, if we find K's, there is no Hurricane Katrina here. Okay, so the deal is that these lists of names will be recycled. So, for instance, I don't have 2017 up here. Actually, I could go back to 2011 and I could write 2017 above it, and that's the list we'll use for 2017. 2012 is 2018. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. So we recycle these lists of names unless the storm was specifically horrific, and then that name gets retired. So kind of to finish up this topic, I've got a list of retired names through 2014. So I mentioned 2005 was Hurricane Katrina, and actually there were, 5 names there that were no longer were pulled from the list of hurricane names that year. So kind of look, you might see some of these were famous hurricanes. I guess I hadn't remembered what year they started going to naming them instead of having them the name associated with the town that they strike. It looks like it was 1954.